You just describe to someone who maybe doesn't know what the purpose of you being here today for this lecture is.
Sure, so we are here, it's University Student Mental Health Day across the country. So we are here, we've chosen Lincoln to come and spend our Student Mental Health Day at. And so we're here to give a talk on mental health and
share our story. Yeah. Obviously when Jonny and I both went to university together, Jonny was going through some mental health issues himself, and our story is called So Close and Yet So Far. We were in a year of 25 people, so and across the 3 years about 75 people. So it's very, very tight, a tight-knit community, and yet lots of us quite often don't know that those closest to us are struggling. And so it's kind of spreading a little bit of awareness on that, how you know through a presentation you'll see us, pictures of us and hanging out together and doing lots of cool stuff, but actually not realizing like fundamentally beneath it all that a good friend is really struggling and having a difficult time. So spreading that message.
It's a message of hope and positivity. Obviously our story's challenging. We go through our challenges, but I think the ultimate message is that, you can overcome. That's what we want people to take away.
What advice would you give to anyone who's struggling with mental health issues at university?
So, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but talking, it is hard. The first time that you talk, I think, was the hardest. But once you have that initial conversation, whether it's with a friend or student support, it's like literally a weight off your shoulders when you have that first conversation. And just knowing there is so much support out there, as we've seen today. There's so much support, it's amazing.
And probably more so, there's more support available now than there was before. There's a lot more conversation around it, which is amazing, and it's just making sure that people know, essentially, like you're not alone, and actually whatever your comfortable method of communication is, whether you prefer to just text someone or speak to someone, like you don't like speaking on the phone particularly, do you? It's just one of Jonny's things. But to know there are services on and off campus that provide support in any kind of method that suits you is really important for people to know. That's what I want to share.
You say it's easier now, and I saw in a previous interview you gave that one of the things which was like a weight on your shoulders was your sexuality and being gay. Do you think it's easier now for both mental health and for sexuality in society, and do you think there's still further work to be done?
Yeah, there's further work to be done. There's still progress to be made, but things are definitely moving forwards. Although I know for me, and I know for a lot of other people that have struggled with both sexuality and mental health, things like faith and family often play into it. So I come from a Jewish background, and so there is work to be done. I think not just within like places like universities, but in wider society, like within faiths. And I've been trying to do a lot of work in the Jewish community, going to like synagogues and like Jewish schools to talk about issues like mental health and sexuality. Because it's still a way to go. I think younger generation, we are definitely more open, but still the older generation, I think we need to try and educate them more.
I think sometimes we project what we think how the world is going to perceive us, and actually one thing that you did was you thought for a number of years that when you would eventually tell your parents that that how they would receive it, how you would be received in the community, and actually when you did come out, everybody was nothing but supportive and kind and loving, and so we kind of build these anxieties up ourselves, and they're not based on anything but on kind of how we think the situation's going to unfold. And so sometimes you just got to open up and take that step and maybe be brave if that's the thing, and it is a relief. I remember you saying it was a huge relief, don't you? And people are caught up in this for many, many years, and I think unnecessarily.
But I definitely think that like your generation is definitely more open. I know I'm generalising, but they are definitely.
You mean our generation? Get yourself out of that bracket, mate.
How old are you about to be next week? Like when we go into schools now, like some young people come up to us and they're very open about sexuality. Like, I'm gay, I'm bisexual, and that's amazing because, I don't know what it was like. When I was at school, I went to a Jewish school, no one ever spoke about sexuality, like no one dared speak about the sexuality, but now, it does feel like things are changing, for sure. But yeah, always progress to be made.
And why do you think specifically that at university people can struggle with mental health issues and maybe not speak up?
There's a lot of pressure at university, and I think, personally, I think the combination of freshers, you come away, there's lots of alcohol involved. Alcohol, I think 80% of people that go into accident and emergency having attempted some form of suicide or self-harm is generally under the influence of alcohol. And so that combination of you're away from home and it is fun and it's very liberating, but at that point as well, you're also intoxicated, you lose your inhibitions. So you get that, and the culture of kind of booze and poor health and well-being is quite a bad combination, really. And then you get stress added onto that as well with your exams and all the things you need to go through. And I think it's just changing that mindset of, initially what we would say is we'd have a stressful day. You say, let's go for a beer. So you say, go for a beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, then you'll neglect, have you eaten? You haven't probably eaten, then it's like some fast food on the way home, then you haven't slept and you're not hydrated. And it's all of these things that kind of have a bit of a snowball effect. And actually, personally, I can say now, if I will only go and have a beer with friends or a drink with friends if I'm having a good day. I won't, if I feel that my sleep has been neglected or I'm not having a particularly good day, I won't go first thing, let's go and have a beer, because I know that it might be that short-term fix, but actually the next day with the hangover, it will be even worse. And I think it's changing that culture a little bit. I mean, it is fun. You want to be away, and university is probably one of the best experiences of our lives, but it's actually re-educating ourselves a little bit. Actually, we can have fun and we can do things, and we can enjoy ourselves without it always having to be just excessively boozing. And I think that was a big learn for me. That's been a big realization.
Yeah, I think for me as well, with university, I really thought it was going to be like, because I've been struggling with my mental health for quite a few years, but I thought university was going to like solve it all. And I know I'm not alone in that, going to university, really believing it was like going to solve all your problems that you could. I thought, I was coming from London and I was going to Manchester. I was like, I'm going to leave all my stuff in here behind in London at home, and then it was going to be a new me at university. And it didn't work like that. Obviously I brought all my mental health issues with me, and so that was a kind of big shock to the system. Like, I hadn't left anything behind. I brought it all with me, and I felt, my perception was at university, like everyone's having the best time ever. Like, I just, particularly like Freshers Week, and I just saw everyone always going out, having so much fun, and I just thought to myself, I must be the only person that's struggling at university. Like, everyone's so happy. So I think we need, and it is changing. I think, we need more education leading up to university of what the reality is going to be like. And I know it's great to hear that this university is going into schools out there and colleges and actually educating people about the realities. Because people, and that's what happens in our society. I think often, like, we just expect people, young people especially, just to go and thrive and succeed as soon as they make a transition, like from primary to secondary or secondary to university to the workplace as well. We know that's quite a big one, like in terms of mental health issues cropping up, because again, you're just not prepared. So, but things are changing. We are doing more in terms of preparing for that transition, which is good, but still not enough.
Do you think maybe people need to be educated that mental health isn't just something that can go away, like you said, when you thought you'd go to university and it'd go away? Maybe people think that about jobs too.
I think, for me, it's been about learning to manage it, and I didn't think ever I could manage it. I thought for me it was just like, I either have mental illness or I don't. I'll one day be cured and fixed, and I guess it's been a big learning curve that, I'll always have my mental health challenges, always. But that I can manage them. No, I wish someone would have said that to me, growing up, and when I was first ill, I wish someone would have said, you can actually, there are ways to manage this, and there are ways to thrive and succeed with your mental health challenges. I just don't think that message gets put out enough. What do you think?
You can have a severe diagnosis of a particular mental health issue and be highly functioning, but it's knowing that you have that and knowing how to manage it. And as I was just listening, a really interesting thing is our use of language as well. Like, how do we describe things? If we say mental health, you go, my mental health, there's a negative connotation with that already. And why is that? And why are we saying mental health and not just health? Why are we saying, how's your health? How are you doing? Like, all of it. Like this holistic view, we're breaking up mental health. Then when we're saying mental health, there's that negative association to it. And then is that encouraging people to kind of speak up? I don't know. It's just the way we've sort of all grown up. But
Absolutely.
it's very hard to try and shift that. But it all begins with this kind of conversation and doing this kind of stuff, doesn't it?
Okay, well, thank you very much. But finally, am I right in saying you've got a book coming out this year?
So actually the book's coming out next year. So Danny is part of it, although he's only just found out. He's part of it. It's a book. It's a book on what we've been alluding to, which is hope. Because the reality is that if you go through a mental health issue, it's tough. It can be really tough.
You can go through a mental health issue and get beyond that and function. And that again, that is the hope.
Absolutely. And people need to. I feel bad saying this sometimes, but I think something that needs to change is our health service, particularly the mental health service, and giving those messages of hope and managing your mental health. And when I first got diagnosed, it was so negative. It was just, and I was in a psychiatric hospital, and it was just so negative, and there was no hope. There was literally no hope. So the book is about giving people hope, giving that message that you can overcome and you can thrive, and giving people ways to be able to do that.